Welcome to Your Tru Awakening podcast, the podcast for creators, leaders who are done faking it and are ready to live from their soul. I'm your host, Sandra Tru, here to help you break free from old patterns and reclaim your energy and rise into the most magnetic, purposeful, led life that you're here to experience. So each week we dive into powerful conversations and practical tools to help you stop performing and start creating a life that actually feels like you, yummy and good. So today I'm so excited to be in conversation with my dear sister Monica. Shamanica is her professional artist name, and she is a Colombian American singer, composer, multi instrumentalist. She's a DJ, she's a sound alchemist whose music bridges worlds, offering vocals, living prayers, and conscious lyrics woven through a variety of genres, including medicine music, acoustic, soundscapes, down tempo, organic house, and Afro house. I love me some Afro house. Her lyrics and vocals are often improvised or drawn from her personal journals, blending English, Spanish, Portuguese, and indigenous languages, carrying the message of inspiration, hope, and collective healing. You know, that's why she's my friend. She was born into a lineage of musicians. She grew up surrounded by piano, guitar, percussion, instruments that shaped her earliest expressions. She is today what is founding this amazing momentum that she's creating, blending ancestral roots with modern electronic textures to create immersive journeys where tradition meets innovation and where music opens a path to connection, to transformation, and most importantly, reverence for life. I am so happy to have you here, Monica, having this conversation together. Yay!
You. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here. And when you invited me, I was an easy yes.
Yeah, I love it. I have been loving seeing your emergence, and I know so much of that has arrived from the way that you care for yourself, the way that you care about life, that you show up for yourself, and the beauty of how I believe when we start tending to our garden in such a decisive way, we are learning to be in rhythm. And that's the conversation that we wanted to have with you today. Our conversation is not only about living in rhythm. How can we be in rhythm with all of life, right? And so Monica, tell me a little bit about how did music become more than art to you, but really medicine?
Wow. I love this question. And I will say that even from my earlier years, I think my preteen years, I started to recognize that music was medicine for myself. I had some pretty rough years as a teenager and
Mm,
even preteen, just getting to accept myself, to love myself, to understand myself. Um, there was a lot of bullying, there was a lot of shame, there was a lot of not feeling good enough. And so for me, the 90s era of like rock music and like this deep, almost gothic, like deep music, these deep lyrics really held me.
mm,
Um, they even the way that the artists would compose the songs, like the depth, the feeling of how the instruments would play these roles together, led me through so many nights, dark nights of the soul, of just like expressing emotion and expressing feelings that I think I couldn't really express in the moments that I was going through in life. So for me, it was like locked in my room, journaling or singing or just like feeling the music, and yeah, it was absolute medicine for me.
yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, which is so powerful because I really believe that it is through embodiment and through rhythm that we can start to heal trauma and reconnect to our soul. That's why we wanted to have this conversation, because we relate. We're both on a deep wellness path for most of our life now, and understanding that the purpose of it is to figure out ways to rewrite, recreate ourselves and create more art, create more beauty in the world. And so when we start doing this process of reinvention, which is the natural process of our evolution, of our natural evolution, which is to create beauty, is paying attention to Can we embody, can we actually get something out of our mind into our bodies and create transmutation, like do the alchemy, so that it's no longer set in your system? And I know you said something about your earlier years, but you were sharing with me personally, and it was not like, oh, I had a boyfriend, a breakup with my boyfriend, but there was so much change and responsibility that it's not normal for a 16. Can you share a little bit about that time?
Yeah. I'm just still thinking back of like the first question that you asked me, and I would love to start from there because I think that really set me off in my
Yeah,
path of
please.
first thing that really the first mountain I climbed, I would say, music was definitely more of the second mountain on a professional level. From even like 9, 10 years old, just right before puberty, um, having older cousins, older girls around. I didn't grow up with a sister, and it was a lot of like, oh, you don't shave your legs, like, oh my god, like how can you wear that? And I was more of like this like sporty girl, and just all of a sudden, I just remember at that age not feeling enough,
Mm,
and that actually started spiraling me into a whole journey of self hate and a whole journey of not feeling good enough, and then just a lot of bullying from girls. I was a bright kid, but it wasn't always like what was in, maybe, and I don't know what was in. Looking back on it, I don't think any of it mattered, but the stories that I created around that really, really, really struck a chord in my heart. And, I think it really started for me there a lot, in terms of feeling so separate from myself. And what I did know of myself wasn't enough. And so that started, let's say 9 to 11 years old, 12 years old. And then that brought me into wanting to be the outcast, wanting to be skipping class, wanting to hang out with rebels, wanting to be the rebel, and just like, I don't need this. Like, why do I need all that? And so it was fueled by, I want to say honestly, like more self hate, or just loathing and not knowing myself and not feeling confident and trusting who I actually was, which led me to wanting to explore escapism and alcohol and stealing alcohol, and then trying drugs and just spiraling into numbing myself
mm,
and hitting some walls,
mm-hmm,
realizing how fast I could destroy myself. And so um, got back on the other side of like, maybe that was too far, I don't need to experiment that far. And my parents were divorcing at the time. So, I just didn't want to be home. I just wanted to be out with friends, people, doing whatever. And my parents divorced, and my mom and I moved to Miami. And within 9 months, we were in a bus crash. And it was with my family. My mom died uh, in my arms, really. I was just there for her in those moments. And I was 16. So that really changed my life from one day to another. I was living across the country. My dad was in California, and pretty much from there on out, I was kind of like an adult per se, just on my own. I did have my dad and my brother, my older brother, around, but it really was the beginning of like, you're going to figure yourself out. Like, you think you know who you are, like coming out of this, but no, like, just watch. um, yeah. So
yeah,
that was
so
a lot of,
beautiful. Sorry, go ahead.
it was a lot of independence. It was a lot of like, you're
Mm,
going to figure it out.
mhm. And I think that is a signature of what an artist is. It's like an artist, whether you're just living a creative life, which is the most beautiful art we can make with the life that we're creating, is that it requires independence. It requires like sticking out as a sore thumb. And for some of us, that was the inevitable because of the environments that we just, many of us didn't feel like we belonged to our family. It just like, this is like, there was something miss. I can't be understood. It was a big one for me. Right. And so, really knowing that being on your own can bring a lot. So young, right? You were so young. I also left my house when I was 17. So I could really relate to the amount of responsibility that I think it's also like the courageous spirit that has the capacity to go, wow. But I look back and I can say like, wow, I'm so proud of that young
Yeah.
girl, even though I was overworking and exploring with so many drugs and partying so hard and doing all the things. At the same time, it's like I'm impressed. But I definitely never dealt with something like um, the death of a parent in my arms, you know? So I really feel for you, and the fact that you were on your own at 16 with so much responsibility, it could feel like that is the chaos that destroys someone. And it's often things like that that give us the soil for the life that we're creating. And so what was your rhythm then? What was your rhythm when you started to have all that independence? What speed, what sound? Like if you could give us an imagery of the kind of rhythm that you were living those years when all of that responsibility fell on you.
Yeah, I mean, what you described for yourself is very similar to the kind of rhythm I was living, right? So it was like partying hard, but also more responsibly. I feel, I started dating a boyfriend who was a promoter. I was, 17 years old, so I had the fake IDs, and I went to all the nightlife events, and it was definitely, if I had to put it in a genre, house music. That's when I found house music, and that's when it was just
Woo!
like fun. It was like the rhythm. It was like, let's just go, let's keep going. We got this, and it was like, make it fun. I definitely carry the spark that my father and my mother both carried, which is just like fun and having a good time. I think it's in our Colombian genes. Just we always
It
like to
really
have.
is.
We just like to make the most of life. Like life is short. Life is once.
Mm.
That's it. And so I think I did have this vision like, I have to go to school, I have to work, I have to figure out how to be an adult, and pair that with I live in Miami and there is a lot of fun things to do in nightlife. And so it definitely played its role for me for when I went to college. My background is in dance and gymnastics, and I really, really loved moving my body and performing with my body and seeing all the cool things my body can do. And I really struggled as a teenager with my nutrition because like I used food to escape, but then also food became my enemy because it changed my body
Mm.
if I ate too much, or if and so I created um, a big journey for myself, like learning to really have that relationship with how to nurture myself. Because during the years, let's say the house music years, it was like I didn't really care to eat so much. It wasn't, but the previous years, it was a lot of like not feeling enough and wanting to like layer through like healing or not healing, layer through like using something to make me feel better in the moment.
Yeah.
And so I think just all of that was a really big wild cycle of figuring it out. But to your point, I really love that you say this because I think as an artist, music isn't necessarily pre-written for us. We
Mm-mm.
write it through just a drop of inspiration, and it comes from nothing into something. And I think being in those scenarios really brought, to your point, it like brought all of this like you can create whatever you want. And so as a musician, it really changes everything. I was trained classically as a musician, and it's like, no, step away from what Beethoven did. What do you want? What do you want to do?
Mm-hmm. Which is so powerful because it's almost like these are the when we think about rhythm, when I think about rhythm in life, I am musically inclined energetically. I know that I have the gift of harmonizing spaces and people and relations. That's why I'm so good at coaching, right? Because I bring harmony into people, into places, into experiences. I'm so good at guiding things in person. But when I'm speaking about rhythm in our life, it's almost like we inherited all these rhythms, right? We inherited the rhythms of school, like when we're studying something and we are training with someone, we inherit their rhythm. When we are growing up and we're living with our parents, we inherit their rhythm. And then at some point, it's like we must become our own artist and create our own melody, our own music. Like, what is it that my lifestyle is sounding like? If we look at it as rhythm, like how does my day start? How do I move in this way? So then we start unwinding our trauma, our wounding, right? Like the ways that we, as you were saying, try to avoid the void, right? It's like, well, how can I numb myself feeling the emptiness? and the maturity that it takes to sit with it, to sit in the void, to do the work necessary to not run away from feeling, which is like one of the main things that I invite people in my work. That is those feelings that become so important because they are the guiding mechanism that is showing us what it is that we want, what it is that we truly need, what it is that is true to us and our longing and our desires. And so when you're thinking about that and where you are now, how is your rhythm different now?
Yeah, when you were saying that just now about meditation and being in the void, I would say the transition from, let's say, upbeat, like not techno, but like super strong deep house, maybe. My early 20s was finding Zen music, right? Finding more sitar, finding more meditation, sound bowls. I dabbled into Kundalini yoga in my early 20s. I didn't know what to do with that energy that my body could create through my breath and through movement. It was shocking to my nervous system, literally. And I worked in nightlife, so I still was in like the heavy rhythm music,
Mhm.
but that was purely for money to pay for my college and where I wanted to go. And I was very clear about that. And in my day to day life, I was exploring a lot more what we could say meditation,
Mhm.
being still, being in nature, spending a lot of holidays even by myself, like just wanting to be alone, wanting to really understand and get to know who I was. And that was my early 20s. And it just kept growing and growing and growing more. And I deepened in a lot of that. And then coming to Mexico 5 years ago, it's almost like I started weaving both of them and finding the sacredness in the duality of like really, really deep, fun, loud electronic music that's like high energy and makes you want to dance your ass off and just like shake. And also finding the beauty in the subtle sounds that come through when there is nothingness and what that feels like and what that moves within you. And
Mhm.
so I would absolutely say, like, in my day to day, I will play lots of genres.
Yeah.
So a little bit of everything.
Yeah. And also your music now is also medicine music, right? Like I mean, we just went dancing the other night and we were dancing. I'm in Mexico too right now. We were dancing salsa and Afro beats, but both of us are medicine women. We love medicine music. We sit with the same tribe, one of the same tribes. We sit with them. We've been sitting with them for a long time, and it has the like we're speaking about the Yawanawa people. It has this energy of big joy and celebration, right? Like it's festive, connective music that gets you into your body, gets you into your voice. So your music, the album, the songs that I've heard for this album have a lot of that, have a lot of joy, but reverence, and also they feel like invitations. Can you share a little bit about them?
Yes, yes, absolutely. I will say with the Yawanawa people, I've sat with a few different lineages, and they were the first family that with the medicine, it helped me recognize that, through the loss of my mother and through the loss of a lot of my family on my mom's side, it's been filled with so much tragedy and death. And they helped me realize that there's a reason why. And maybe even though I don't get to see and experience the music that my ancestors have to offer, because all of my family were musicians on my mom's side, like all of them were in bands together. They performed together, played together. My grandmother, to her late years, played piano still, and they helped me realize that through music, I was actually going to come back to my family and come back to my lineage and even connect deeper with them, even though they're not here. And so it was a really big pull for me to take music more seriously and really study it more and step more into this path. And it birthed a whole album in about 3 years, right? So I would say this album is a journey. It's called El Soplo del Cielo. So what it translates in English is a blow from heaven. And the inspiration from that is really like how powerful our voices are and how powerful our breath is, and our, when we're blowing into something, just even blowing out a candle, you're blowing out your wish. But when you're speaking, you're putting energy out through your mouth. And when you're singing specifically in certain tones that have different frequencies that influence us so deeply. And so a lot of these songs just they came through me or were written through me in the jungle. A couple are covers. One is dedicated to my mother. She would sing the melody of it, an old song. And I would say it's a full journey. It starts more on the shamanic end. It starts more deep, more drum or earthy, and it picks up into this more like high electronic dance vibe energy. So it takes you up and out for sure.
Yeah, I just love it so much. I feel like the people that are needed in today's world are humans that are shameless about putting together seemingly opposite parts of themselves into a collective whole. And I witnessed that in you, right? You know, my last keynote and event that I did was called Holy Misbehavior, and it's just about that, like the power of not leaving parts behind because it doesn't make sense. And when we allow ourselves to be in the freedom of like all of me is welcome, all of me is welcome, not only are we giving huge permission to, we're speaking about ancestral energies, right, to all of our of what we inherited, to mature, to stop hiding, to get out of the dark, to come into to be seen, but also the permission that it gives for the people around us. And we go back to the Yawanawa people, and when you're around in their villages, their ceremonies are huge, and everyone dances, everyone sings. And the name of my program is a conscious creator experience, because I really believe that we must reclaim our art, our right to be artists. When I do my events, it's not about watch the artist, it's like be the artist. And I feel that you have, whenever I'm in communication with you, you have this vitality of inviting people to create more, right? You also guide people through embodied experiences and to move through their bodies, and like, so you understand the importance of movement, that sometimes our art, our words, what we create is is our capacity to move what we couldn't say through thinking or through words, that it requires a whole lived embodied experience. So what did your, was there something that your body knew about creating music that your mind wasn't ready for? Like that moment where it was just like, I know that I'm ready for this, but your mind was just like, that doesn't make sense. You know, I'm a wellness professional, like like a professional.
I love this question. I think my childhood dream as a girl was to sing. I was the 5, 6, 7 year olds in front of my parents on the weekends, or when they would have the family parties, doing the dance and the performance and the singing. Like I was tumbling all over my living room, doing walkovers and handstands and cartwheels everywhere. I mean, I was just like always wanting to perform. And so it was really interesting, looking back on everything, how I would say if I would have stepped into that and really gone for that at a young age, the kind of music and the kind of artist I would have been very different
Mm,
than the Monica that said, okay, in my 30s, I know myself a lot more.
mhm,
What is the kind of frequency that I want to give out and want to share as my art? And I chose a very different path, but a path of learning and teaching people how to be in their body. So for
mm,
me, I love science, and I'm like such a nerd with science. I love the human body, biology, all of it. It's like it's so cool to recognize how perfect our bodies are designed through nature. And so I studied nutrition. I didn't want to be a doctor, but when I found, nutrition as a degree in college, I immediately jumped right in and paired that with fitness training. And, I did both for many years, and my practice I've still have, and I've had for a long time. But music was put aside. Music was set aside. It was what it became was my medicine. It became what I did on my weeknights by myself in my bedroom, just Googling chords, Googling songs, Googling lyrics, and listening to them and practicing them and learning them and being inspired by what it sounds like and how can I get my voice to sound like this and how can I make my guitar sound like more like that. And so um, it was I think a very internal medicine for myself for so many years until one day I was in prayers with Giselle, and it was funny. She asked if I wanted to offer a water prayer, and I said yes, and I paused, and she thought I was hesitant, and so she's like, no, 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 you need to just sing, like this is your medicine. And it was almost that permission slip from your older sister that's like, it's
Yeah.
you to be you. And I was like, and I did. And I looked, I was like, I'm not shy. I was like, I was ready to sing. But what that did was a huge ripple effect in my life that said, step into who you're meant to be, and
Mm-hmm.
everything else will fall into place. And I struggled with that for many years because even my dad was like, you need to study your career, and like, are you going to have a career change? And, they say focus on one thing, don't do too many things. And I love my practice in nutrition. I love teaching people more how to love themselves, how to have reverence for their bodies, and
Mm,
through what we need to nourish us
totally.
ourselves, and then also get to deepen through sound frequencies.
Mm. I believe at the core that we are here to be in contribution as much as we can and create lives that have so much space, especially now as we are moving so fast and with the support of so many systems and technology, that we are meant to be creating art because, just because, not everybody, right? Not just somebody, but all of us. We're all meant to understand that art is, and play and creativity, they're not privileges. They are part of a soul's necessity. We are here to move energy and to create beauty. And so, same for me. Like, I love what I do, right? In coach, and I'm forever exploring different art mediums and writing and drawing and like all of it, because I know the importance of music right now is such a big thing for me. Yeah, Giselle also calls me out in prayer. And it's like, let's sing. Um, but that, just that, like being around, and that's the beauty of also choosing your environment, because your environment is in training the rhythm of your life. So if you are around people that are going to a speed of overwhelm, overdoing, never stopping, that becomes the normal for you, and it becomes the song that you're hearing even when you're not hearing it. When you're around people that are living holistically, expanding in every area of their life, prioritizing their joy, their happiness, naturally that would be the rhythm that you entrain yourself into. And so, thinking about life as music and the embodiment of the rhythm that we really want to hear, express, sound, like put out, right? That's what we call resonance, is that our communication isn't just about what we're saying, it's about the energy that we're pouring out. It's energy that speaks before we walk into a room. And I
Hmm.
really love that, even outside of the work that you're doing as a musician, you're doing that. You're also creating really beautiful rhythm for people in how they're living their lives. Because when a person is well nourished, mentally,
Hmm.
spiritually, emotionally, all of a sudden you don't have to teach them to be conscious, to be conscious and take care of the planet or take care of each other, because we naturally, when we come home to ourselves and we love ourselves enough, we understand ourselves as part of a greater organism that we are responsible for. And that's when we are in harmony, in rhythm with life, or being used by it.
I find a lot of the work that I'm doing with my clients, because I did specialize in eating disorders and addiction, and in general, whether they're coming to me for like medical nutrition or weight loss or, binge eating or whatever it is, there's more need for us as a collective to play and to have fun
It's like
and
why I
to
do everything I do.
lighten up. You know what I mean? Like, lighten up, the laundry wasn't done on time, like it's gonna be okay, like how can we invite more play into the rigidness of our life? And I think that goes back to, we may have to put on a certain theme and like be an officer, like show up and like play this role that brings us security and safety in so many ways. And how can we have fun in the day to day in everything that we're doing? Because
Mm,
if not, are we even living, and are we really getting all parts of ourselves that need to be fully expressed?
mhm.
Because
I love
I find so many people just containing everything, these things that they want to express and feel, and sometimes it's just putting on music and dancing.
like oftentimes I mean,
Most times.
mm, you can be for sure that even in the moments when you do not feel like dancing, if you allow your body to move, you will feel better. I know for me, music and movement has been one of the greatest medicines I allow myself to have through my grief, through my chaos. Just put a song, even sometimes when the the protective mechanism of I can't feel it and it goes whoop, that energy gets stuck in my body. And then I'm like, I had this anger or this energy that it wasn't the right time to move through my body because I was working, or so I put it away, but now I cannot access it. And so then I will go and I will find a song that helps me emote that, and I will allow myself to move through that song, or like was it a heartbreak that I'm not accessing, and that's a beautiful practice to get into our own rhythm, to find music that it's helping you release the energy, the emotion, the energy that is in motion that wants to move through you, and sing it, hum it, dance it, move it, because we are water beings, and water, when it's stale, when it's still, it stinks. But when you allow water to move, stays fresh, and you will always be happy by the end of that process. Is there a practice that you take on that helps you come back into your own rhythm?
Yeah, absolutely. Every day, every morning, every night. I think that was something when I had my explant surgery in 2019. I had maybe like 2 months of just isolation and just sitting with myself. And all of my practices from my earlier 20s, meditation, I've done vipassanas, just like a lot of stillness, sitting at my altar and just sitting, lighting a candle and just staring at the flame in silence. And I will say that that's pretty much how I strive every day to do, like start my morning in gratitude, affirmations, like do my more. I have a morning playlist about an hour long, like certain mantras and certain codes that really I like to bring into my field in the morning. Same within the evening, I play very specific genres. Lighting is really important, and also going back to my altar and just sit and give thanks. I don't, you know, consider myself connected to any specific religion, but I have my practice that connects me to God. And so that is a weaving of many things, and it's what feels really good for me.
Mm,
Throughout the day, like going, you were saying something a few minutes ago where it's like it brought me to think of how important it is to have music that helps us be in stillness, because I think that's this there is a lot of medicine in stillness, and sometimes we're distracting as a means to avoiding.
mm-hmm.
And so there is a lot of medicine stillness, and there's a lot of medicine in like dancing chaos and moving the energy. And so I think being able to tap into both, and that's where I started, right? I started with the guided meditations, with the sound healings, with like the stillness and the silence. And over the years, it's led me to want to play more dance tracks and sing and bring more play and more aliveness and more
Yes.
joy. And so it's like, yes, we want to go to these depths and feel these things, but also we need to transmute it, or else our waters do get stagnant and they get murky.
Mm,
We don't
I
want the murky waters. We want clear water.
Mm. I tell you that the practice of stillness and allowing myself to open up to the everythingness and nothingness, and just like to hold the moment more and more, has given me a capacity to feel more and more. That's also that, to feel more pain, but also to feel so much more pleasure and aliveness and joy. Right. And it's not that I'm feeling more pain. I'm just feeling it now, instead of waiting and holding it for years and having resentment and guilt and blame. I just allow myself to feel it now. What I think some people are afraid about sitting in stillness to just be with what is that, oh my God, I'm going to feel so much. The interesting thing is that it doesn't last that long. It's minutes when you allow yourself to feel it. Maybe you go through ugly cry, and then you're gonna have another channeling again of another grief cycle, and they come and they go. But if you allow yourself to just hold it, it's not that long. It might be ugly, but it's not that long. And there's nothing more delicious than living life with an open heart, with a heart that can feel. It's something that I want to just share with people that you can do if you have a hard time with stillness. Because if you think about it, meditation was created for monks and yogis and people that had a completely different environment living, right? They did the mantras, they did the movement, they did the mandalas, they did a ritual, then they sit down to meditate. And so if you're someone that doesn't have a physical practice, because it is physical to sit still, move your body a lot, whether that's 1 minute shaking, 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 or doing strong breath work, and then be still so that you can get into your body. Oftentimes we get into meditation because they're like, okay, meditate, and it's like overthinking, right? It's like sit there to overthink, and it's not.
Meditate.
Yeah, how do I meditate? Just like,
Shoulder, where do I put this hand?
yeah, just shake, get the energy out of your body as much as you can, and then feel the chi, feel the ki, feel that life force that's moving through you, and just shower yourself in it, because it is such unvaluable resource that we all have, that if we took more advantage of how rich we are to have the experience of this now moment and the practice of experiencing love, because the love is what's inside of this moment. When you open it and you experience it, what you will get is love.
Absolutely. And what I really invite for anyone wanting to find that stillness, even for myself, it's getting into the movement meditation through
Mm,
stretching and just opening your yoga mat and just getting on it. And just, I like to work through my body from my neck, shoulders, chest, back, all the way down to my ankles, and just coming into the presence of every ligament, every bone that we have,
mm,
every cell. And then that's when I feel I'm much more in the capacity to just breathe.
I love that. Yeah, so
Because you can't just turn off your laptop and expect yourself to go from like doing a ton of paperwork and math or whatever you're doing in there and then just logging out, and then all of a sudden you're in a zen garden. There's like a transitionary period, right? And so that's part of the beauty way, right, is inviting what's next with all of your senses, the lighting, the sounds, the what are you smelling, like being in your body, what are you wearing, things like that.
I love that you're speaking about transitions, because we're speaking about rhythm. And when we're playing music, those transitional tracks are so, right. If you're listening to a DJ and it's just like bop, bop, and different thing, it's so chaotic. But the beauty of transitioning, I'm teaching myself right now to take 3 minute pauses, like 3 minute meditations after I finish with a client. I am doing managerial things that need to get done, and now I'm going to creative mode. 3 minutes. I'm eating and cooking meal. 3 minutes, and I thought it was going to be really hard. What has been a little challenging is following up, but the practice itself of those 3 minutes, like often, like how have been so deep and delicious. And so just having that, to perhaps think about not how long do I have to do it, but how often. How often can I do it? And use that as gratitude experiences, right? Just like the energy of gratitude, to use it as like amazing gratitude. So I want to ask you, Monica, tell me a little bit about this event that you're doing. When is the release of the album? Tell me all the goodies. Where can people find you?
So I'm on all sound channels, platforms right now. So Spotify, Apple, all the things, YouTube. And I am part of a really fun dance challenge that's happening the month of October. And so a dear sister of mine invited me to do a little bit of choreography. And I was like, this is perfect with one of my singles that's coming out in October. It's called Divinely Guided. I absolutely love the song. I feel like it's a true anthem for when we feel we need a little path to open its way up for us, so we can remember that no matter what is happening, it's all perfectly in order. And so there's this song is just like such a dance track. Also, it's like a song that you want to dance, you want to be embodied, you want to just like feel. And so I'm doing a little, I'm partaking in this challenge of 30 days of dance. And so my song will be featured with the choreography, and everyone's invited to come and dance and just bring more dance into our lives. Like, how fun is it to just move our bodies and learn other
Fun.
songs and other moves from different cultures around the world? My friend Vandana has a really amazing show called We Speak Dance on Netflix. And so she invited me to participate, and it aligned with my next single release, October 3rd. And then I'll be releasing my album on 10/10.
Yay!
Really excited for that one. Yeah.
I'm really excited for you. I have been loving what I'm seeing, hearing, and seeing the love that you're putting into all this work. Like, oh, it's so inviting. I feel like right now you're being a really beautiful invitation for so many people to diving deeper and deeper into your creativity. Um, so, is there a we have your and then social media and Instagram, right?
Yeah. So if you want to connect with me, my social media is XA.Monica with a K. And it's pronounced Shamanika.
Monica.
Monica.
Amazing. So stay connected with us. If today's conversation was stirring something with you, know that this when these things happen, they are not by coincidence. There's because we're matching a rhythm, so it's not random, and it's your invitation to come back into a seamless song for your own life, that you're the creator of your experience. And that's my invitation. If you're looking to refine your energy, your creativity, your purpose, I would love to talk to you. I have an amazing program called the Conscious Creator Experience, where we go beyond just talking about what we want to have, and we start creating a life that really reflects who we are. Together we dissolve their inherited patterns of rhythm, of hustle culture and disconnection, and we choose a melody that matches who you really are. So stay in touch. Please subscribe to this podcast, and I would love for to know if connected with you in some sort of way. Share with us, connect with us, and share with someone that might be interested in this conversation. Thank you so much, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
for having me.
Monica.